The air shimmered like molten glass beneath Kelry's IV's twin suns, painting the dunes in restless waves of gold and violet. Dr. Mara Venn stood motionless on the ridge, her visor fogged from her breath, her pulse echoing in the suit's audio feed. Below her, the Dragon Mother moved with impossible grace for something so immense, her wings folded like continents, her scales reflecting the dying light in fractured rainbows. Between her foreclaws lay the hatchling, barely breathing, its luminescent veins flickering as though a storm raged beneath its fragile skin. The sensors in Mara's glove reported erratic bioelectric activity, but nothing like anything in the human database. This was not mere biology, it was something older, deeper, alive in ways her science could not define. She should have reported it immediately. The Interstellar Ethics Council's protocols were clear: no interference during native death rituals. Yet as the hatchling's faint cries pierced the translator's filters, she felt a pull stronger than duty. The mother's golden eyes rose toward her, and for an instant, Mara felt her consciousness tilt, like gravity itself had shifted. A low hum, too deep for sound, passed through the air. The dunes rippled as if responding to her voice. The mother spoke, not in words, but in pulses of light, frequency, and scent. Mara's implant stuttered, trying to process the impossible data stream. She fell to one knee, clutching her head as waves of meaning, memories not her own, rushed through her. Images flooded her mind, stars being born in gas clouds, oceans of liquid glass, colossal beings weaving DNA like threads of light. The vision snapped, leaving her gasping. The Dragon Mother lowered her head again, whispering in the same inaudible tone, her massive chest vibrating with energy. The hatchling convulsed, its light dimming, the sand beneath it crystallizing. Mara stepped closer, helpless, her hand trembling over her recorder. Something ancient was happening before her, something no human had ever seen, and deep down, she felt it wasn't just the hatchling's life that was ending. It was the beginning of something far larger, and she was standing in the center of it. The whisper came again, but this time it wasn't sound, it was vibration, threading through the air and into Mara's bones. The Dragon Mother's throat glowed with shifting light, patterns moving in fractal precision, each pulse a syllable in a language that bypassed translation. Her recorder detected impossible readings, quantum harmonics overlapping at 17 different frequencies, bending local gravity in rhythmic waves. The sand lifted slightly around them, swirling in a halo that glittered with static. Mara's heart raced. She was witnessing communication not through air, but through the very fabric of spacetime itself. Her implant buzzed violently. Words began to form in her consciousness, fragmented, alien, shimmering with meaning that felt more felt than understood. Continuum. Breath, binding of stars. The Dragon Mother was speaking directly into her neural cortex. Mara stumbled backward, her visor flashing error codes as radiation spiked beyond tolerance. Yet the sound was beautiful, a harmony that seemed to come from within her own cells, as if her DNA remembered it. The hatchling let out a final, weak tremor. Its eyes dimmed. The mother's massive head tilted, sorrow rippling through her body like a seismic wave. Mara reached out instinctively. The moment her fingers brushed the crystalline scales, her vision split open. The world dissolved into light and geometry, spirals of DNA interlaced with galaxies, time folding inward like a collapsing star. She saw the dragons soaring across nebulae, shaping worlds with the heat of their breath. She saw them fall, hunted, scattered, fading into myth. Then she saw something impossible, humans, standing beside them in another age, before memory was born. The shock snapped her back. She collapsed into the sand, her visor cracked, her lungs heaving against the thin air. When her eyes lifted again, the Dragon Mother was watching her, silent, immense, her golden eyes reflecting twin stars. A faint hum filled the air, a farewell, or perhaps an invitation. The hatchling's body no longer glowed, but the sand beneath it pulsed faintly, alive with light, and Mara realized the whisper had not ended. It had simply moved inside her. When Mara opened her eyes again, the sky above Kelry's 4 had shifted into twilight hues, two suns dimming behind veils of violet haze. She was lying on cold stone, the hum of invisible energy coursing through her skin. Around her, the chamber pulsed with faint luminescence, ancient draconic symbols carved into the walls glowed in synchrony with her heartbeat. Her visor flickered with unfamiliar readings, detecting radiation that wasn't on any human scale. She tried to move, but her muscles trembled as if her body was still adjusting to a new frequency. The air felt charged, dense, alive. She turned her head toward the far end of the chamber. Zareth, the dragon mother, stood motionless, her colossal wings half-folded like veils of shadowed crystal. The hatchling's body lay between them, still and beautiful, surrounded by motes of floating light. They weren't dust or spores. Mara's neural scanner identified them as bionanites, microscopic entities composed of living carbon lattice. Each emitted low-frequency pulses that resonated with the planet's magnetic field. She stared in awe. The dragons weren't just creatures, they were living repositories of encoded data, repositories of cosmic memory written into their biology. Mara's head throbbed as fragments of new knowledge leaked into her mind, mathematical symbols, star maps, languages not spoken but imagined. Her implant, once human-made, now adapted to patterns beyond comprehension. She realized the whisper had rewritten parts of her neural network. Panic flickered through her, but it was drowned by curiosity. The motes of light began to drift toward her, drawn by her altered physiology. They entered her skin harmlessly, merging with her bloodstream. Instantly, her vision expanded. She could feel the heartbeat of the planet, the magnetic pulse of the moons, the slow, grieving rhythm of Zareth herself. The dragon mother turned to her then, lowering her head until her golden eyes met Mara's. No words were spoken, but an image formed in her mind, a spiral of stars collapsing into darkness, and at its center, a heartbeat like her own. The whisper had chosen her. And as the motes continued to flow into her, Mara knew that whatever knowledge the dragons carried was now awakening inside her. Back at the research outpost, silence hung over the sterile corridors like a veil of unease. Mara's colleagues avoided her eyes. The data she brought back from the Dragon Temple defied every known model of biology or physics. Her blood samples glowed faintly under spectroanalysis, emitting harmonic pulses that synchronized with the planet's magnetic field. The medical scanners malfunctioned whenever she entered the lab, and when she touched the glass containment housing the nanobiotic dust, it vibrated, responding to her heartbeat. The whisper inside her mind had not stopped. It spoke softly now, in her own voice, murmuring fragments of equations and memories that weren't human. At night, she dreamt of breathing stars. She saw the dragons flying through interstellar storms, their bodies absorbing cosmic radiation like sustenance. They weren't born, they were activated, each hatchling a carrier of ancestral code that connected to the pulse, an ancient resonance network linking minds across the void. Humanity had only begun to glimpse quantum entanglement, yet the dragons had lived it as instinct. Each time Mara woke, her neural implant burned with heat, as though decoding a transmission from beyond light. She began to isolate the pattern hidden in her blood, waves of data spiraling through the cells, communicating through electromagnetic harmonics. The whisper urged her to listen deeper. When she adjusted her scanner's field spectrum, the lab lights flickered and gravity warped for a heartbeat. In that instant, she heard Zareth again, her voice folding space around her words. We shared the breath once, before the fracture. Mara fell to her knees, clutching the console, her pulse racing. When she looked up, the containment field had collapsed. The bionanites hovered in the air like dust suspended in amber light, circling her gently, as if recognizing their host. Then her console displayed a message it could not have generated, characters neither human nor draconic, yet she understood them instinctively. The pulse remembers you, Mara Ven. The bridge begins. The nights on Kelry's 4 grew shorter as the planet's twin suns drew closer in orbit, igniting the horizon in endless twilight. Mara spent those sleepless hours deciphering the pulse signatures that echoed through her bloodstream. Each harmonic wave contained fragments of Zaratha's voice, memories encoded as soundless symphonies. The whispers no longer frightened her. They guided her hands as she wrote equations she couldn't explain, mapping energy pathways that curved through time like rivers of light. The data implied an ancient process, what Zarath had called the Resurrection Protocol, a genetic awakening sequence buried within the dragon genome, capable of restoring life through resonance. She returned to the temple under cover of night, her heart aligned to the rhythm of the pulse. The hatchling's crystalline body still lay upon the altar, untouched by decay. The air shimmered with the faint echoes of the mother's sacrifice. Mara activated her neural uplink, syncing it with the reading stored in her implant. The frequency thrummed in her chest. It wasn't just sound, it was intent. Her body began to radiate faint blue light, the nanobiotic matter in her veins resonating with the ancient pattern. As the energy intensified, the symbols carved into the walls illuminated one by one, responding to her heartbeat. The ground trembled, and the air filled with static luminescence. The hatchling's body absorbed the radiance, its translucent heart flickering like an awakening star. Mara realized she had become the conduit, her biology bridging the gap between human and dragon. Every nerve in her body burned with the merging frequencies. Through the blinding light, she felt Zaratha's presence, tired but resolute, guiding her from beyond. Her voice, now within Mara's mind, whispered the final code, the one that could not be written, only felt. The chamber erupted in brilliance. When the light dimmed, the hatchling's eyes opened, glowing gold like twin suns. Mara fell to her knees, trembling, her body drained yet alive. The whisper quieted at last, leaving behind only one lingering thought pulsing in her mind: to heal the stars, one must first remember how to breathe. The first light of dawn broke across the dunes as the newborn dragon unfurled its wings. The air rippled with electromagnetic shimmer, bending sunlight into living color. Mara stood motionless, her body weak but her mind alight with clarity. The bond between her and the creature pulsed with silent recognition. Zaratha's essence lived within them both. The pulse she once heard as a whisper now thrummed through every particle of her being, synchronizing with the planet's field, with the stars above, with the faint heartbeat of the universe itself. The outpost's emergency beacons blinked in the distance. The human retrieval team would arrive soon. She imagined their confusion at the readings. Gravitational distortions, magnetic inversion, atmospheric harmonics singing in perfect rhythm. Kelry's 4 was changing. Life was rewriting itself, harmonizing with the frequency the dragons had once protected. The hatchling turned its luminous eyes toward her, its mind brushing against hers in pure emotion, gratitude, sorrow, hope. She reached out, resting her hand upon its scales. The texture was warm, fluid, like touching liquid metal. In that moment, she understood what Zarath had given her, not power, but remembrance. The whisper had never been meant to teach, it was meant to awaken. Through compassion, through connection, the divide between human and dragon had dissolved. The pulse had returned, and with it, the lost unity of creation. As the suns rose higher, the hatchling took flight, spiraling into the radiant air. Its cry rippled across the valley, reshaping clouds, bending light, seeding the sky with particles that shimmered like new stars. Mara closed her eyes. Her neural implant powered down, its function complete. When she opened them again, she saw the reflection of twin suns mirrored in her own irises, glowing faintly gold. The universe exhaled around her, and for the first time, she felt it breathe with her. Humanity would call her discovery a miracle. She knew better, it was a memory, returning home.